Welcome to Sleepy Stories. Tonight, our journey takes us out onto the vast, quiet expanse of the open ocean. We are traveling back to the age of sail, a time when the world was larger, and the seas were a great, untamed wilderness. It is the quintessential story of a ghost ship, but one with no ghosts, only a profound and unsettling silence. It is the story of a vessel found in perfectly sound condition, and a full sail, with its cargo and the crew's belongings untouched, but with every single soul aboard having vanished as if into thin air. A ship at sea was a small, self-contained world, a tiny bubble of humanity adrift for weeks or months at a time, its only companions the wind, the waves, and the endless horizon. In the vast emptiness of the ocean, another vessel is always a point of interest. It is the American brigantine, the Mary Celeste. He knows her captain, Benjamin Briggs, to be a skilled and sober seaman. The only reply is the groan of the rigging and the soft slap of waves against the hull. The ship is silent. A small party, including yourself, the first mate, and another sailor, is ordered to board her and investigate. For his ship to be in such a state is deeply unsettling. The deck is wet, but there is no sign of major damage. But why? The ship is perfectly seaworthy. You check the hold, and her cargo of 1,701 barrels of denatured alcohol is almost entirely intact. A ship with no captain, no crew, no story of what became of them, only a profound and unnerving silence. There are books and navigational instruments laid out. You see the captain's wife's sewing machine, with a piece of work still in it. There are children's toys belonging to their young daughter, Sophia. The ship's logbook is on the desk. The final entry is dated 10 days prior, on November 25th. It simply stops. It notes the ship's position and reports no trouble of any kind. Below deck, you move through the silent living quarters. In the crew's cabins, their sea chests are undisturbed. Clothing, pipes, and personal effects are all in their places, as if their owners had just stepped out. As you and the others begin a methodical search, the mystery only deepens. As your ship, the Dea Gracia, draws closer, you and your crewmates can see that something is wrong with the other ship. She is a brigantine like your own, but she is moving strangely, yawing in the wind. Her sails are set, but some are torn, and she seems to be sailing with no one at the helm. It is from this age that we get one of the most perfect and enduring mysteries of the sea. Tonight, we explore the quiet, haunting riddle of the Mary Celeste, but the 10 people who should be on board Captain Briggs, his wife Sarah, their 2-year-old daughter, and the 7-man crew are gone. So, I invite you now to settle in. Let your mind cast off from the shores of the present day. There is no need to solve this mystery, no need to follow every clue. Simply allow the gentle, rocking rhythm of this strange, historical voyage to carry you peacefully towards rest. Imagine yourself now. The year is 1872. The date is December 5th. You are a sailor aboard the British brigantine Dea Gracia, making your way across the temperate, rolling swells of the Atlantic Ocean, somewhere between the Azores and the coast of Portugal. Life at sea is a steady rhythm of routine. A ship has been sighted. The creak of the ship's timbers, the snap of the canvas sails in the wind, the endless watch over a horizon of blue. Then, a cry from the lookout. Captain Morehouse hails her. Your captain, David Morehouse, studies the vessel through his spyglass. A look of concern crosses his face. He recognizes the ship. The Dea Gracia pulls alongside the mysterious vessel. You climb over the railing and your boots touch the deck of the Mary Celeste. The feeling is immediate and unnerving. The ship is completely deserted. You find the ship's single lifeboat is missing, which suggests the crew abandoned ship. In the captain's cabin, the scene is even more poignant. There are no signs of violence, no signs of a struggle. The galley is well stocked with food and fresh water. You stand on the deck of a perfectly good ship in the middle of the vast, empty ocean. A ship is more than just wood and canvas. It is a small, self-contained world, a reflection of the captain who commands her. To begin to understand the mystery of the Mary Celeste, we must first try to understand the man who was her master. Captain Benjamin Briggs. Born in Wareham, Massachusetts, he was part of a family with a long and proud maritime tradition. He had every reason to ensure her safety and the success of her voyages. The crew he had selected for this journey was a small, competent group of 7 men, mostly German sailors, who were known to be peaceable and experienced. There was nothing in the captain's character, nor in the makeup of his crew, to suggest a predisposition for violence or discord. The presence of Sarah's sewing machine and a small pump organ, known as a melodeon, in the cabin. He was a man who left nothing to chance. The mystery officially moved from the lonely expanse of the ocean to the formal, sober setting of a Vice Admiralty court. The salvage hearing was meant to determine what had happened and how to award payment to the rescuers. Piracy was in steep decline by the 1870s, and any pirates who would have been bold enough to attack a ship would surely have plundered its valuable cargo or the personal effects of the crew. Over time, the most plausible and widely accepted theory has centered on the ship as cargo, the denatured alcohol. He ordered a temporary and orderly evacuation of the ship as a safety precaution, or perhaps a sudden, unexpected squall descended, separating the small, vulnerable lifeboat from the much larger and faster-sailing Mary Celeste. In the decades that followed, the story of the Mary Celeste became a canvas for all manner of sensational and supernatural theories. Whispers in ports around the world of a giant squid that had swept a crew from the deck, but without a final log entry, without a witness, and without a trace of the 10 souls who were aboard. They remained just that, theories. The truth was taken by the sea, leaving behind a perfect and enduring maritime riddle, or of an abduction by a mysterious vessel. In either case, the 10 people in the lifeboat would have been left adrift, hopelessly separated from their ship in the vastness of the Atlantic Ocean. This theory accounts for the missing lifeboat, the lack of violence, and why the crew would have left their personal belongings behind, as they fully intended to return. He had the crew launch the single lifeboat, and all 10 souls, including his wife and daughter, would have climbed aboard, perhaps taking with them the ship's chronometer and navigational papers. They would have likely attached the lifeboat to the Mary Celeste with a long tow rope, intending to follow at a safe distance until the vapor had dissipated and it was safe to reboard. The theory goes something like this. Several of the 1,701 barrels in the hold were found to be empty. These barrels were made of red oak, which is more porous than white oak. It is possible that over the course of the journey, a significant amount of alcohol vapor leaked from these barrels and filled the hold. The ship showed no signs of a battle, but the 1,700 barrels of alcohol and the money and valuables in the cabins were all accounted for. But the judges and maritime experts were faced with a silent ship that offered no easy answers. They had to consider every possibility, from the mundane to the malevolent, and in doing so, they laid the groundwork for the theories that have surrounded the ship ever since. And yet, he and his family and his crew sailed away from New York and into the heart of an enduring mystery, leaving behind a perfectly sound vessel as the only silent testament to their unexplained fate. The sound of a child's laughter mixing with the creak of the ship's timbers. These details, noted by the men who found the empty vessel, paint a picture not of a rough and tumble merchant ship. Perhaps the crew had mutinied, murdering Captain Briggs and his family before escaping. But the evidence on the ship itself seemed to argue against this. Captain Briggs had a reputation for fairness, and his crew was known to be competent and peaceable. More importantly, the ship was in a state of quiet order. There were no signs of a struggle, no traces of violence, and the personal belongings of the captain and his family had been left untouched, but of a floating family home, a place of quiet domesticity amidst the vastness of the ocean. He was a man of the sea, through and through. Those who knew him described him as devoutly religious, a man of strong moral character, and an experienced and capable mariner. He was known to be a teetotaler. He abstained from alcohol, a detail that made him somewhat unusual among sea captains of the era, and one that cast serious doubt on any later theories of a drunken mutiny aboard his ship. By all historical accounts, Captain Briggs was the very model of a respectable 19th century sea captain. He was not just the captain of the Mary Celeste, he was a part owner, having invested his own savings into the vessel. The voyage itself, which began in the cold autumn of 1872, was meant to be a routine commercial undertaking. He was accompanied by his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. It was not entirely uncommon for a captain's family to join him on long voyages, transforming the austere captain's quarters into a temporary floating home. The Mary Celeste set sail from New York on November 7th, her hold laden with barrels of denatured alcohol, bound for the port of Genoa, Italy. It was a standard transatlantic crossing, a journey Captain Briggs had the skill and experience to complete without incident. But this journey was different for him in one significant way. He was not traveling alone. Imagine the small domestic touches that would have softened the ruggedness of life at sea. Everything about Captain Benjamin Briggs, his crew, and the final voyage of the Mary Celeste spoke of professionalism, routine, and a quiet, hopeful domesticity. When the Mary Celeste was brought to the port of Gibraltar, manned by a small prize crew from the Dea Gracia, the most obvious and sinister theory was that of foul play. Another possibility considered was an attack by pirates. But this too seemed unlikely. With foul play looking improbable, investigators began to search for a more scientific or environmental explanation. Perhaps the tow rope, frayed by the sea, suddenly snapped. Captain Briggs, fearing a catastrophic explosion from the volatile fumes, perhaps from a spark from the ship's galley or a metal tool, made a calculated, professional decision. And then some unpredictable event occurred. Of course, where logical explanations have gaps, human imagination takes flight. Each theory provides a potential story, a possible final chapter for the crew of the Mary Celeste. The official inquiry in Gibraltar ended without a definitive conclusion. The court, unable to find any evidence of foul play, eventually released the ship back to her owners. While there have been other accounts of derelict vessels found at sea, none have captured the public imagination quite like the Mary Celeste. The power of its story lies in its quietness. It is a mystery defined not by what was found, but by what was absent. The lack of any struggle, the good condition of the ship, the untouched belongings, and the poignant presence of a family's domestic life created a perfectly preserved, silent stage, but all the actors had vanished. It is a quiet testament to the vastness of the ocean and its ability to keep secrets. Here, in the stillness and safety of your room, you are safely ashore. There are no strange sails on the horizon, no silent decks to investigate. The only journey you are on is the gentle inward voyage towards sleep. The 10 souls who left New York in the autumn of 1872 sailed into a small, unwritten footnote of history, leaving behind a perfect riddle that has never been, and likely never will be, solved. The ship is remembered not for the dozens of voyages it completed, but for the one it did not. And so, with a verdict of a mystery, the Mary Celeste sailed out of the courtroom and into the realm of enduring legend. Over the years, the story of the abandoned brigantine has become the archetype of all ghost ship stories. Let the riddle of the sea dissolve into the quiet of the night. All that is left is the gentle tide of your own breath, a soft and steady rhythm, leading you to rest. The ship's place in popular culture was cemented by a young writer who would later become world famous for creating the master of logical deduction. In 1884, a still struggling doctor named Arthur Conan Doyle anonymously published a short story in the Cornhill magazine. It was titled J. Habakkuk Jeffson's Statement, and it presented a sensational and entirely fictionalized account of the events aboard a ship he called Marie Celeste. Doyle's story was one of mutiny, murder, and a fight over treasure, a dramatic tale that provided the kind of thrilling explanation the real event lacked. Because it was published without an author's name, many readers took it to be a true account from a long-lost survivor. This lurid, fictional version became deeply entangled with the real, quieter mystery of the actual ship, and it propelled the story of the Mary Celeste from a piece of maritime history into a permanent fixture of Western folklore. The ship itself continued to sail under new owners for another 12 years, an unremarkable vessel haunted by its famous past. It met its end in 1885, when its final captain deliberately ran it aground on a reef in Haiti as part of an attempted insurance fraud. But the legend of its mysterious, unmanned voyage of 1872 had already made it immortal. The story of the Mary Celeste is, in the end, a story about the power of an unanswered question. But the vast, empty ocean of 1872 is a world away from you now. The ship has sailed into the mists of history. The crew, wherever they may be, are at peace. Sleep now.